This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, change makers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Supercross stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Have you noticed, like I have, that there is increasing, though still perhaps inadequate, representation of diverse people in the media? Today's guest, Steve Jones, the founder of pocstock, is the man behind that, the man behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz. So you don't want to miss this episode. Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show from the Super Crowd. We're thrilled to have you, and I'm excited to introduce you to Steve. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you for that intro, Devin. Great to be here.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little magical now that you said it.
Yeah. Well, you should. You're the wizard. I think one of the great things about your work and the business model you figured out is you're figuring out how to amplify the use of your technology, the images, your repository. But why don't we start by inviting you to just explain the basics of what pocstock is and how you are changing the world.
Sure. Well, initially, I'll go back just a few steps. So I used to run a digital marketing agency where we were responsible for developing campaigns for large corporate brands and ad agencies. And we discovered that the largest stock photography platforms did not have an adequate selection of images that featured diverse people, all different backgrounds and cultures, meaning, people of Black, Asian, Hispanic, and other backgrounds, people who are older than 50, people who were, perhaps living with a disability or other attributes that would not normally be mainstream of what you would see on like TV or an ad. And that's when I discovered that this is a larger issue around the world. You go to different places around the world that we operate, you realize that this sort of lack of representation plays out across all geographies, all cultures. It's not unique to the United States. So that's when Deshaun Brown and myself decided to create pocstock and as a global solution to the content challenges that most industries face. Now, these days, we're looking at the AI industry because AI was trained on these libraries that are plagued with biases and missing content and things like that. So it's really a global issue that we're tackling. And, we work with some of the largest brands and ad agencies in the world and some of the largest AI companies in the world as well to help them solve these challenges.
So is AI going to replace you and your business?
So AI over the next year or two, it's predicted that AI will be responsible for generating up to 80% of the images we see online. In between that shift in the creative space and the displacement or potential displacement of creators around the world, it does look like AI could be one of those sort of game-changing technologies that if you don't embrace it, then you would certainly be left behind. But the model that we created is not sort of separate from the creators. So we created a model where our creators can be included in the AI boom, right? So AI right now is valued about $650 billion industry. It's going to be about $3 trillion over the next 7 years, and a lot of that economic impact will not make it to the creators or include the creators if not for a company like pocstock, where we are including the creators in our solution as well. So creators have an opportunity to monetize their content in a different way and be a part of what's next, which is AI. AI is not going anywhere. It's going to fast track almost and disrupt almost every industry in the world, and we just don't want it to leave creators behind.
I think that's really an important concept, and I'm excited to see that you've got a strategy for taking advantage of the AI boom while also protecting your creators, because we would hate to see them displaced in this process as well. I invested in an earlier round of your business, and
Yes,
I'm excited to see that
thank you.
you're raising now at a higher valuation, high enough that in my portfolio I have never had, and I've made many dozens of investments in this space, and I've never had a company perform better in terms of valuation increase than you have. You've also done a great job of communicating um, and so, as a shareholder, I'm really happy with my pocstock investment. You've
Thank you.
gone back to the well. You're raising capital again. I mentioned at a higher valuation. Uh, what's going on? What drives you back to the community for more capital?
So one of the things that we're looking to do in the future, now and in the future, is really double down on AI. So AI is one of those industries that if you don't embrace it and you don't get out in front of it, you're literally going to be part of the the group that's left behind. And we have a unique platform that we've built. So no one else has taken the time to do what Pocstock has done over the past 5 years in terms of building a massive library of images, making sure those images are culturally relevant and inclusive of all people, making sure that they're free of stereotypes and biases, and everything is accurately annotated and labeled by our team. And now that data is literally what the AI industry needs in order to become what it's going to be, which is a $7 trillion contributor to GDP growth over the next 7 to 10 years. So in terms of why we decided to do crowdfunding, we've done private equity rounds. We have a VC firm in our investor portfolio. We're a portfolio company for 958 Ventures. But this round, we wanted to be more inclusive of more people. So when we do the private equity rounds, there's usually a limit. You have to be accredited investor. There's usually a $10,000 to $25,000 minimum. But we wanted to make sure we did a round of investment that allowed anyone to have access to invest in our company as we then go out to be a part of the AI industry, right? So this gives people an opportunity to access AI through Pockstock, right? So that's really why we decided to do it this way. $250 minimum investment gets you into the game, into the
Yeah,
AI industry.
it's remarkable that you are doing that for those reasons, because it means that your creators, the photographers can participate, your customers can participate, and of course anyone can
Yeah.
participate. So this is exciting. I'm excited that you're doing that. As you think about this marketplace, uh, I think there are some genuine social implications, right? There's some genuine impact to better, fair representation across the board, uh, not just for people with your complexion, but also people who are uh, disabled and from other communities, and women often underrepresented. Uh, how do you see representation improving things for those communities? As a guy who's well represented, uh, I don't I don't fully right understand, right. I've never walked in your shoes. Tell us a little bit about why this matters.
Sure, it matters because there's an impact on how we most of what we think we know about people is what we see in the media, in other people's experiences, but not necessarily what we experience ourselves. So most of what we think of any cultural group has to do with what we've seen in movies, what we've seen in ads, what we've seen on TV, what we hear in the music, and then we form opinions about those groups, and we form preconceptions about what those groups are about, right? For folks like yourself who are part of the majority population of this country, you don't have to worry about, if you wanted to go on a website and say, I want to have an image of a CEO, or I want to have an image of someone in a private jet, or someone swimming, or you don't have to worry, can you find imagery? Because the industry has prioritized people that look like you. So there are images in abundance of people who are not people of color, right? So the challenge becomes when you start to see imagery that looks like a certain group over and over and over, it starts to reinforce what, these biases that you may have against other groups. It plays out in when Black women go to the hospital, the infant mortality rate goes up. It plays out with how you think someone should be treated by law enforcement, because it's easy to believe that that person is guilty because of their skin tone, because you've been fed a steady diet of Black men are inherently angry, and all of these, they're blatant lies. But, all of these stories that you've heard and been told, it keeps us away from each other. It keeps us from having natural, authentic conversations. If you let the media tell it, or if you digest what you get from the media, everybody's racist, everybody hates each other, and this couldn't be further from the truth. We all, in private conversation, private settings, most of us get along because Americans are usually rational, normal human beings. But the worst of the worst gets amplified as the norm, and it's just simply not the case. So imagery is how you change people's perceptions of people they haven't met.
Yeah. I recently moved to Stockton, California, which is demonstrably the most diverse city in the country. And
Right.
I have loved it because it challenges all of my raised in one of the whitest communities in the country,
Right.
in Utah, to living in the most diverse. So seeing like a Black dude in the store, face tattoos, all of the things that I associate with bad. And he's got his little girl with him, and he's trying to get her into the bathroom. And we're like, oh my gosh, like he's a human being. Like
Yes.
he's suddenly three-dimensional, right?
The
And so,
imagery that we've been fed dehumanizes us.
yeah,
That's been fed by the media has dehumanized certain people, so it can be justified. If you see a George Floyd happen, you can say, oh, well, he must have been doing something wrong for that to happen to him. And it's just simply not the case.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I really, Super Crowd friends, as you listen to this, I hope you appreciate the value that Steve is bringing, and will take the opportunity to check out the capital raise on WeFunder. If you just visit wefunder.com/pocstock, you can find their latest offering there, or hit s4g.biz/POC, POC, and that'll get you there maybe quicker and easier. But listen, we've got to take a quick break, and let me just recap. We're here today with Steve Jones. He's the CEO and founder of pocstock, this great company we've talked about that's leveraging AI and other tools to help increase representation of diverse people of all sorts in the media. And it's just wonderful to see him and have him on the show. He's raising capital at WeFunder. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to shift gears to talk to Steve about his superpower. You don't want to miss this.
Download a free copy of How to Make Money with Impact Crowdfunding, the book Sarah Hanks describes as
a fantastic overview, not just of crowdfunding investing, but of investing in general.
Andrew Savickas raved,
"This book offers unparalleled insights for anyone looking to make a difference."
Scan the QR code to get your copy. Supercrowd 25, where innovation meets impact.
18 hours of live content, 5 platforms, 1 global audience.
Join the largest event for regulated investment crowdfunding. Live pitches, expert panels, real change.
August 21st and 22nd.
Scan the code or visit thesupercrowd25.com to register free today.
Struggling to raise capital for your business? Unlock the power of the crowd with AI. My free guide, Crowdfunding Made Simple, walks you through every step to success. Get funded smarter, faster. Scan the QR code now for your free download.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited today. We've got with us Steve Jones. He's the founder and CEO of pocstock, really making a difference in what we perceive and see in the media, especially advertising and other related content. So much of what we see comes from, these repositories of media, and he's shifting that to include many more diverse faces, and that's so important, incredibly important. We're going to shift gears now to talk to him about his superpower, so stick around. Steve, I'm a very happy shareholder, excited to be a part of your journey, and love what you're doing. What is your superpower?
I had to really think about that. And I have to go back to early childhood. My superpower has been, I've always been intellectually curious and a problem solver. So I will say those two things. I've always looked to see how can I make the world in the way that I think it should be, right? So I've always been one of those people who sees problems and tries to come up with a solution. I see injustice, I try to address it. I see ways to help people, and I try to help them. I've always been that way, and I had to really look back to early childhood. I was always the child that was tinkering and taking apart things and putting it back together the way that I thought it should be, not the way it came in the box. I've done that for past 30 years in advertising, marketing, branding, and now I'm doing that at pocstock, which is helping re-architect the way content is created, consumed, and perceived. And that to me, I like to stay intellectually curious, and I love to, meet different people of all different backgrounds, learn about them. I never walk into a situation, or I try not to walk into a situation where I think I already know what the outcome is going to be. I wake up every morning fresh and ready to go. And every day is a new challenge. Every day is a new opportunity. And that is really what I think drives a lot of what I do.
It is so important to have that intellectual curiosity. And some of us go through life just kind of oblivious, right? Yeah. Can you think of a specific example, a specific time where you could have maybe a story where you could talk about how you identified something and worked on it because of that superpower, maybe had a good outcome? Can you think of an example?
Outside of pocstock, I would say I think back to there's a good friend of mine, this middle-aged Irish guy who's really one of my best friends. And I remember I was working at a healthcare company, and I was I was one of the IT guys who would go from office to office, making sure all of the tech was working in order. And I kind of walked into his office, and he had a bust of Batman, and he had a Dr. Dre CD there. And if you looked at him, you looked at me, you looked at him, you looked at it was like that started what became a 15-year career in digital marketing, because it was that moment that he and I bonded and became lifelong friends over something. If you looked at us together in a picture, I'm 6'5", bald, dark skinned. He's about 5'8", 5'9", portly Irish guy. And we became the best of friends. And that led to years later when I started my marketing agency. He gave me my biggest contract. He gave me my biggest contract just by asking questions and just kind of not being one of those people who made any preconceptions about who he was or who he should be. We just bonded. And I have those kind of moments quite often with people of so many different backgrounds. Um, there's so many people in the pocstock ecosystem of all cultures, backgrounds. Some of our biggest investors don't look like me. Some of our team, like we have such a diverse team. So there's always those opportunities to ask questions from people who don't look like you. And I've always taken advantage of that because that's where you learn. You don't learn a lot from people who have the same opinions. You learn from people who are different.
As you think about this and this love, I mean, super proud folks, don't you just love hearing this? I mean, you think about how divisive so much we see in the media is, and to hear Steve talking about friendships and curiosity, getting to know people, it's just a reminder that there is so much good in the world still, and we need to cling to that message in so many ways. It gives us hope for a better world instead of getting mired in the crap. But Steve, can you give us some tips on how we can do that? I think we want to embrace that curiosity and to be more of peacemakers in a way. Give us some ideas how to do that well.
Yeah, well, we work with a lot of major brands, and a lot of times we'll go into rooms to talk about, inclusive imagery, inclusive production, and the teams sometimes are all white teams, and we don't we look at that as an opportunity to in sort of inject different opinions and different thoughts, and they're usually very thankful for us to be sort of their tour guide into different spaces. So the only thing I would say is challenge yourself to meet different types of people. Um, Outside of work, in work, in different relationships, you never know who people are and what they can bring to the table. A lot of my best relationships today happen because I just happened to say hi to someone who didn't look like me. Um, it can start as simple as that. Maybe turn off social media and the news every once in a while so you can stop having all of those inputs influence how you look at other people. There's so many good people in the world. There's so much good being done, and it's being drowned out by all of the negative noise. So then you start to think everything is negative, and it's just not the case. We're surrounded by so many good people who are really standing behind Pockstock because this is a global movement to make sure that everybody and every form of beauty has a place in the world, and a lot of people want to see that as the case.
And that is inspiring, so inspiring. Now, of course, as we wrap up here, I wonder if you just take a minute and tell our audience how they can get pock stock images. Tell people how they can invest. What's the protocol? Remind them. Some people are going to want to be in touch with you, and give people the best way to do that. I know you're a busy CEO, so give us some guidance on how to be in touch.
Sure. I'm really present on LinkedIn, so I am Steve, the Idea Guy, on LinkedIn and Instagram, but mostly I'm present on LinkedIn. You can follow Pockstock on any platform. You can sign up if you're a creator and you're looking to submit your imagery for on our platform. You can go to pocstock.com. If you're a business owner of any size and you need imagery for your websites and things like that, you can go to pocstock.com. We're a partner of Canva, so if you go to Canva and you type in Pockstock, our imagery will show up as well. And if you want to invest and join us on this movement, go to wefunder.com/Pockstock, POCSTOCK.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. It's just been really a pleasure to catch up. I'm so excited about the value you've created for me in quite a literal way. I'm excited about the progress you're making as a business. I'm excited about what you represent for the world. I'm excited by your kindness and generosity. We're excited to see you thriving, and I want to see you continue to thrive and succeed as you go forward.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for investing and trusting in our vision.
Alrighty. Now, let's do some good.
Absolutely.